Hi everyone, welcome. I am Ilaria Doimo from Etifor, and in this brief lesson today I will guide you in the topic of forest for health and well-being, which is my main research interest. We have seen that urban forests contribute a great deal to improve human health and safety with the provision of ecosystem services. Among these services, there is also the support of our psychological, physiological, and social health. In this lesson, I will introduce you to the theories, approaches, and some examples. So, the question is how it is possible that just being in a forest can make us feel so good? Well, from the second half of the last century, researchers started to develop some theories that explain why we feel better when we are in a natural environment. First of all, there is biophilia, that tell us that humans have a natural attraction for nature and for things that are alive. So we concentrate our attention on these elements, on these natural and alive elements. Further, Kaplan explains how directing our attention towards nature and natural elements help us to regain concentration and in a certain sense also to recharge our batteries and our mental resources. Kaplan also adds that there are some special characteristics of the environment that can make us feel in a place that is different from our daily routine, make us feel comfortable, totally immersed in this environment. And these characteristics help us to relax and regain concentration. Kaplan then also tells us that natural environments have such characteristics, especially if compared to urban-built environments. So, at the end, natural environment seems to be more suitable for relaxation than urban-built environments. Ulrich then helps us to understand that contact with nature is able not only to ease our mind and to relax, but also to allow our body to slow down and relax, even after a very stressful event. To conclude, Loewe with the enunciation of nature deficit disorder, which is not a recognized disorder, says that spending less and less time in nature leads to an increased risk of health issues such as behavioral problems, stress, anxiety, and so on. So, in the last decades, researchers, building on the theories that we have just seen, add some other elements to explain the pathways from nature to health. One of the most recognized schemes is the one by Hartig and others. In the scheme that you see here are illustrated the four main pathways and the main health outcomes derived from contact with nature. In orange on top, the pathway linked to the ecosystem services that we know more in forestry and traditionally we research more, and that we have also seen in the previous lesson. But in blue, just after that, we have the three pathways that are the focus of this lesson. So nature and urban forests provide spaces that foster physical activities. This means that we are more inclined to walk, jog, or bike along a street that has trees, or if we have a park that is very close to our home. Further, urban forests facilitate meeting friends or even new people. Park and green areas indeed are a democratic space that provide opportunity to gather, to do activities together to everyone. Also, urban forests have a stress reduction potential. We have seen it in the previous slide. All these pathways together lead to relevant psychological, physiological, and social health outcomes, such as better perceived psychological health, but also persistent changes in some physiological parameters, such as lower level of cortisol, but also lower blood pressure, decreased morbidity and mortality of some diseases, and a general improved longevity. The provision, use, and maintenance of adequate and just urban forest is therefore to be considered an investment for our public health. It is clear then that having more trees and green areas and passing time in connection with them, it is beneficial for human health. To go then from theory to practice, some researcher and international organizations are trying to develop rules and suggestions to make our cities more green and more effective in delivering health benefits. The 330-300 rule, for example, indicate how many trees and where we need them so that everyone can have access to them and therefore improve the well-being. Some researchers assess that the health benefits we would have in the case we follow this rule and reach the target of the 30% tree canopy cover in city. As you can see, we could have a decrease in incidence of non-communicable diseases, such as decreased incidence diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, but also for psychological distress, poor sleep, and we will be able also to reduce loneliness complaints and related mental health conditions. But of course, having more urban forest is not enough. We need to have accessible green spaces and urban forest and promote also their use. Just by doing so, we can reach different target of people that have different health needs. Indeed, urban forests can be used and promoted to promote health and healthy lifestyle for everyone, but also to prevent diseases and chronic illnesses, to address populations that are at risk of certain pathologies and diseases, hence for vulnerable at-risk groups. Urban forests can also be used for social inclusion activities, for people with disabilities or for marginalized groups. And also, at the end, to treat certain illnesses with clinical intervention or physical or psychological rehabilitation. These activities need to be done under medical supervision and are usually integrated with traditional medicine or traditional therapies. But let's make some examples now. When we speak about promotion of health and healthy lifestyles, this can happen just by providing forests and making them accessible for everyone. This means, of course, that we need to think about urban forests that are accessible, for example, for people in wheelchairs, but not only this, also for elderly people, children, families, and people with sensory impairments. And also do not forget about the sense of safety. You would never go walking alone in a urban forest if the area is not well maintained, there are no trails or signs, or if it is too detached and dark in the evening. We can also have forests that are designed for outdoor activities and prevention. For example, linear parks and forests stimulate slow and alternative mobility. When we have linear trees along the street, this can increase thermal comfort and aesthetic beauty and encourage walking and biking. Urban forests with sports courts and open-air gym facilities or children playgrounds or again dog parks, as in the picture in the middle, and also forests that host cultural events are excellent to motivate people to go out and meet in the green. In this urban forest, we can also organize specific physical activities, as in the last picture, or mindfulness activities for preventing diseases and stress. Then we can have also forest for treatment and rehabilitation. In this case, the forests are the setting and catalyst for specific therapeutic purposes. This use is targeted to a small group of people with specific health issues. Therefore, also the forest setting and the typology of activities will need to adapt every time to the health objective. Some example can be forest for a hospital and healthcare facility, where it's possible to do physical rehabilitation with patients, but also psychotherapy in a safe space, and also forests that are used for people with dementia, Parkinson, and Alzheimer. Also, there are forests suitable for social and green prescribing. So where we can do guided group activities like forest walks, forest bathing, tai chi, but also for engaging in conservation and maintenance activities with specific target groups. Also, we can use it for wilderness therapy, where people and groups of people with disabilities, neurological conditions, psychological diseases, or vulnerabilities can experience close to wilderness situation and can challenge themselves in overcoming difficulties, work together to find solution and space also for solitary reflection. These are just few examples of how different forests can support different health benefits and allow different activities and typology of contact with forest. Namely, it is important to have both larger forests that are outside the city, that people will probably reach less often, but where people can spend more time and the immersion in nature is more intense. And we will also need patches of urban and peri-urban forests that are reachable by everyone on a monthly, weekly, or daily basis, ideally. These forests can be smaller in size, but easier to reach and where people can do different activities. The illustration here reflects this idea of considering different gradients of green and forest areas as a network that support human health and well-being. To conclude, this brief lesson, I would love you to take on the following messages. So contact, observation, and closeness to urban forests are powerful tools to increase health and well-being. Therefore, we need accessible and diversified typologies of urban forest to be able to meet everyone's needs. Without this condition, we will not have healthier and safer cities. Thank you.